What are the main issues you're standing on? I mean, apart from what you've mentioned and that, but what are some of the other issues?
The main issues the ACT Party are standing on is the cost of living, crime, and co-governance.
Yeah. And in terms of crime, are you picking up that that's quite an issue in Hawke's Bay?
Look, absolutely. I mean, it has been for a long time. It was exacerbated by the Cyclone Gabriel events.
Yeah.
But look, crime is up in every town and every year in this country. And the Labour government are putting the criminals ahead of victims. We need to flip that around. If you just look at some of the statistics, acts intended to cause injury are up 42%. Acts of serious violence are up 121%. Ram raids are up 65% in the last year alone. Gang numbers are up 84%, growing at a far faster rate than the police. And 90% of prisoners last year received no rehabilitation whatsoever.
Yeah. Where are you getting that information from?
Oh, these are national statistics.
Yeah.
So we've got to do something about it. It is broken at the moment. So the ACT Party would bring back 3 strikes. We'd bring in 3 strikes for burglary. We would tilt the balance to be in favour of the victim rather than the criminal. We would make sure that reparations were paid directly by the government rather than adding further insult to injury by drip feeding those payments by the offender. It's just not fair. We need to take back our streets. We need to know that our kids are safe walking to the dairy or going to school. We need to know that we're safe in our shops and in our homes. This is our right, and we need to take it back.
Yeah. Now, talking about Cyclone Gabriel, were you personally affected at all by it?
No, I was very lucky. Yeah.
But obviously, it's had an impact, and you would have seen it, especially going around and valuing houses and and properties and that. What do you think of the government response and the council's response to it?
Well, look, I mean, the council were going to be driven by the government.
Yeah.
So ultimately, a lot of that, their hands are tied in many respects. I am a little bit concerned at the current direction. I worry that we are getting tied up in a lot of bloated planning committees, rather than focusing on actually getting stuff done.
Yeah.
And so that is the direction I think we need to look at moving after the election. I don't know if you've read the Hawke's Bay Cyclone Gabriel recovery plan, but it's 87 pages, could have been written in about 2 or 3. It repeats the same stuff over and over and over again. It is a plan about making more plans and about getting funding for more plans. It is not a plan for recovery. That is not how we recovered from the 1931 earthquake. We just got on and got things done. David Seymour was here on about the 3rd or 4th day after the cyclone on the ground, identifying what the problems were, talking to locals, and he took that back to Wellington, came back on the 3rd of March, just days after the event, with a full Cyclone Gabriel recovery plan. We are still the only party outside of government that has an actual recovery plan, and it sets out a number of processes that need, or policies that need to be implemented in order to free up fixing Hawke's Bay, because Hawke's Bay is an important part of the New Zealand economy. We recognise that. It talks about getting tough on low-life criminals who further victimise cyclone victims. And, we would make an aggregating factor anyone that commits a crime in an emergency situation. It talks about tackling government spending so we can actually refocus that spending on where it really is valuable. Areas like the Cyclone Gabriel recovery,
Yeah. And, there have been some communities that are a bit disgruntled. I mean, obviously, homeowners who've been affected, they feel that there hasn't been enough communication, and then you've got the growers who I think were a little bit irritated, if I can say, with their package, because it mainly seemed to be facilitating loans for them rather than giving them money. What do you say about those issues?
Well, look, primarily I think we need to make sure that the government is getting out of the way of the private sector rebuilding. I mean, I look at the 1931 earthquake, and after that, I value a property in Napier down the main street or in Hastings, and amazingly, they were all built in 1931, 32, 33, 34, 35, It's staggering how quick they rebuilt after that. And they did that because the government got out of the way. It cleared all the bureaucracy. I mean, these poor horticulturalists have been struggling to get the government to sign off on burning these, waste piles. It's just insane. Just get out of their way. Let them do business. These guys know how to rebuild. They've done it before. They did it in 1931, business sector, and just got on and did it. They can do it again. We've just got to make sure that we clear out that red tape, remove RMA barriers, and let the private sector get on with it.
Now, one other policy that's come out is about roads, and you're saying that roads shouldn't be funded by taxpayers, but private roads, basically tolls and that. That's going to be a bit controversial because people are still going to be obviously paying for it,
Well, I mean, we've got a bunch of existing roads at the moment, which, would still largely be in play. But currently people choose to go on the toll roads because they're way more efficient. The alternative is that we wait 30 years and may or may not ever get the road at the at the moment. I was driving across the Napier Taupo Road yesterday, and there's potholes everywhere. The place is an absolute wreck. We can't just continue the way we're going, and at the end of the day, the funding has to come from somewhere. It's either going to come from your tax or it's going to come from tolls.
Yeah.